everyone, so today I'm going to show you how to make an autumn scene card featuring some pumpkins in different shapes, sizes, and colors using Honeybee Stamp's new Pumpkin Patch stamp set that was just released. And here I'm just going to start by arranging my masks all along the card panel so that I can figure out the layout that I want to use. And once I have a layout that I like, I'm just going to push those masks off to the side and then start stamping. And for this design, I really needed to remember which of the pumpkins were going to go in the front and which were going to be in the back. So I just made sure to keep my stamps in that order off to the side. You could also take a photograph of your scene when you have all of your masks laid out and then just refer to that as you're stamping as another way to remember. And one of the things that I really love about the Honeybee Pumpkin Patch stamp set is that the pumpkins are really large, and there are 5 different pumpkins, and there are different shapes and different sizes, and you can combine them in lots of different ways to get some really good design layouts. In this version, we're going to make a single layer Copic colored version, but at the end of the video, I will show you a multi-layered die cut version that I made also using some of the dies that you can also purchase along with the stamp set if you like. So now we're going to start on the sky, and I envisioned this. I wanted a really pretty blue-green sky with some lavender shades thrown in as well. I wanted it to look a little bit windy, so that's why I'm not blending my brush strokes across the page very well, because I want them to appear to help give the sense that there's a little bit of wind maybe in the background. And one of our pumpkins is going to have some purple hues to it. So I thought that having some purple in the sky would be a nice way to bring out the purple in that pumpkin. I grounded the scene by going across the bottom with some E74, which is a nice dark brown with some purple undertones. Now I am just fixing up some of the lines on my pumpkin that I didn't get the best stamped impression. I'm just using my Copic multi-liner for that. Now we're going to start on the first pumpkin. This is our orange pumpkin, and I'm going to lay down a base of Y21 over the entire pumpkin, which is a nice muted yellow shade, has some orange in it as well. And then we're going to add our shading along the ridges of the pumpkin. And I'm going to use my YR27 for the shading. And then we're going to just start coloring in the pumpkin with the rest of the oranges we're going to use. So this is our mid-tone YR15. And the method I'm using here is I'm using a similar method as I would if I were making hair. So it's kind of, you start at either end and you flick towards the middle, having your lighter tones extend further towards the center and your darker tones kind of sticking closer to either end, so that you get this nice little highlight right in the center of the little piece that you're coloring in. For the stem, we're going to use YG 93 and 97, and all of my stems are going to be colored in these YG 90s with the exception of this pumpkin right here, which is our green pumpkin. I'm going to end up giving him a brown stem. Otherwise, it just would have been too monochromatic for my taste. So I am laying down a base of YR91, which is the lightest color we're going to use. And then we're going to add our shadow with YG99 along the ridges. And then we're going to fill in the rest of the pumpkin with our midtones just the same way that we did with the orange pumpkin, and I'm just being sure to add in those shadows as well, like where the green pumpkin is peeking out behind the others. There'd be a little bit of a shadow there. So that's the reason for that darkness. And again, I'm just using those hair strokes again, trying to leave like a light highlight towards the middle. So these pumpkins are great to practice on if you want to practice your flicking motion. I think this is good practice if you want to learn how to make hair, because you make hair in kind of the same way that I'm using for these pumpkins. And these pumpkins don't really have a realistic look. They kind of, because I really did use the hair technique as opposed to just trying to shade it to make it look like a realistic pumpkin. They're more stylized, so I think this whole scene is pretty stylized. It's just kind of what I was in the mood for. Now we're going to work on our brownish purple pumpkin. And for this pumpkin, I'm going to use E70s, which is a lovely brown shade that has some purple undertones to it. And then once we're done coloring in our little brownish purple pumpkin, we're going to glaze it with some lavender just to really help bring out the purplish tones in it. So again, same technique for this pumpkin, the little hair strokes. This is a great project to just kind of veg out on because you don't really have to think much about what you're doing. It's the same technique just over and over again. Each pumpkin you're going to do it about 5 times because each one has about 5 or 6 different ridges. And if you make all 5, you'll have done this technique 30 times if you copy this card. So you should be masters of hair. Now we're going to move on to our beige pumpkin, and we're going to use E40s for this, and we're going to stick towards the lighter range of the E40s family. So I colored this pumpkin in with some E41, and then for the shadow color I used E44, and then my midtones are going to be this E43 and then some E42, and then I'll blend it all together with the E40. And I really love this tone. I think it looks definitely like pumpkins that I've seen. I love the white pumpkins that you see in the fall. I just think they're beautiful. I'm probably gonna make some more cards with some pumpkins. I may try to make some with some warm grays. I think that's another good way maybe to try to make some white pumpkins. I think you can make a real elegant card, maybe using all different shades of warm gray to have different tones of whitish beige pumpkins. Okay, so for the last pumpkin, originally I was going to do it orange, but then I thought that the scene needed a little bit different of a color. So we're just going to make this guy our golden pumpkin, and we're going to use the same Y21 base that we used for the orange pumpkin. Our shadow color is going to be YR24, so it's a little bit lighter than the shadow color we used for the orange. And then our midtone is going to be Y23 and Y35, and that's what's going to help us keep the yellow golden tones instead of turning it into an orange pumpkin like the pumpkin on the far left. And I really like how this is looking. I think that this is a really, really nice, elegant color palette for fall. And now I'm just going to fill in my leaves, and we're going to use YG 91, 93, and 95 for 2 of the leaves. And then the other leaves, we're going to use E41 and E44. So originally I thought maybe I would make some like purplish red leaves, but I just thought that the color palette of the pumpkins, that it works so well, I didn't want to throw in another color element there. So I just stuck with a color I had already used. So that's why I used the E41 and 44. I felt it helped to keep the scene nice and tied together. And then once we're done with the leaves, we'll work on the little acorn, and we're going to make the acorn part with E70, 74, and 71, and then a little bit of a shadow with 77. And then for the top of the acorn, we're going to use E43 and E47. And again, these are colors that we already used elsewhere in the scene on the other pumpkin, so it helps to just tie everything together. And now I'm just going to add some little details. So this is a fresh new white gel pen, so it's really, really juicy. So I'm going to smear back some parts of it with my finger where I thought that too much of the ink came out. So you'll see that in a second. So right there on that green pumpkin, I'm just going to smear that back, and it helps to really make it look like there's a little bit of a shine when you smear it. If you have a gel pen that is, better almost towards the end, you won't have to do that. It's just with the real fresh ones where I find I have to kind of smudge it a little bit just to get a more realistic look, so it's not just like gloppy and white. So the sentiment I'm using is greetings, and I wanted it to say fall greetings, but the fall stamp is really, really big and it just didn't fit with this scene. So I just kept it simple with greetings. I think you get the picture that this is an autumn greeting card just by the images, by all the pumpkins and the leaves. So kind of, I guess, say it with a picture instead of words, right? And so that is our single layer Copic colored card. So next, let's take a look at the die cut version that I made. So here's the die cut version. So I used the same color scheme as I did for the original layout, except we have 2 orange pumpkins instead of a yellow. And then I used that large die cut sentiment from Honeybee Stamps to write in warm fall wishes. And then I just added some little gold curly cues and some purple leaves to the scene. And then that backdrop is a die by Lawn Fawn that I just thought helped to give the whole card an elegant look. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which version do you prefer? Do you like the Copic colored single layer card, or do you prefer the multi-layer die cut version? Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this gave you some ideas for your autumn cards, and I will see you again soon in the next video.